Hey, look what I found.
I'll let your birthday slip by, Dad.
Well, this is really making up for it. Just what I wanted. What's up?
I'll ask Daddy. You'll ask Laura.
This is Talk Back. Our drama for this program is called The Fifth Plate. Our guest is the Reverend Dr. James Doty, Director of Pastoral Care and Counseling for the Indiana area of the Methodist Church. Later, Mr. Merrill Emery and Dr. Ross Snyder will be asking Dr. Doty questions raised by our play.
Something.
I'm shaving.
Why?
Well, I didn't get a very good shave this morning.
Well, it'll only take a moment, dear. Just a moment.
Yeah? You called me?
Will you let me get you an electric one for Christmas, dear? They make them with 6 heads now.
Nope.
You're old-fashioned.
Yep. Well, what do you want to ask me?
These flowers, where'll I put them?
Wherever you can find a place for them, I suppose.
You're a big help. Do you think they look all right there?
Ah, they look fine. I wonder what she's like.
Judy's roommate?
Judy.
What a peculiar thing to say. Your daughter has been away at school now for all of 2 months, and...
It's the first time Judy's been away from home.
You don't have to worry about her.
No. I didn't mean that. I meant,
You meant what?
I meant, I don't know what I meant.
Oh, Laura, let me give you a hand with that. There's silver.
There's silver.
There's tablecloth.
And contrasting napkins. And I bought a pepper mill. It seems like people don't pour pepper anymore. They just grind it and it comes out in great big lumps so you can see it. People have to see things nowadays. Not enough just to taste it.
Laura, I have a faint suspicion that you're not doing this just for Judy. Are you trying to impress her roommate?
Mrs. Wilson, I was in this house when your daughter was born. For the first 17 years of her life, I did things for her. And I'm going to be doing them for the next 17 years. She's my baby.
And we had the most marvelous time. Actually, I had to drag Helen out of your mother. I've been spending almost every weekend at her place. I thought it was time she saw how the rest of the country lives. I'm glad you did, dear. We've got a lot of things planned.
Well, don't put yourself out for me, Mrs. Wilson. Judy and I shift for ourselves. That's what we do in my home.
Laura's happy today. Her girl was home.
I thought she was going to smother you at the door.
She almost did.
Well, you belong to Laura almost as much as you do to us, dear.
Laura came when I was born. Was supposed to be on a temporary basis, wasn't it, Daddy?
Mm-hmm. That's right. 2 weeks.
And you kept her on?
Well, not really. She just stayed.
How come?
There was never any question of her leaving. We were all the family she had. At any rate, she just stayed.
Well, I think that's wonderful.
So do we.
Our servants have been with us a long time, too.
Well, we hardly consider Laura.
We better stop chattering and get ready for dinner.
I'll help you, Mom. Helen wants to call her phone. Oh, fine. Tom, will you show her where the telephone is?
Sure. It's right down the hall in the den. It's quiet there.
How do you like the new pepper mill? Laura bought it.
It's a beauty.
What's the matter?
Would you do me a favor?
Of course.
Would you ask Laura if she'd mind not having dinner with us? While Helen's here, I mean. It's just while Helen's here. It doesn't matter to me.
That's very nice of you.
You don't understand.
You're right, I don't.
At Helen's house, they do things differently there.
I'm sure they do. Everyone does things differently everywhere. But here we do it the way we choose. Laura has always had dinner at the same table with us. She lives here. Why should we change that now?
Because they don't at Helen's house. Domestics eat separately at Helen's house.
Domestics? Judy, you wouldn't deliberately hurt Laura.
Of course not, Mom, but
But what?
I don't know if Helen will like it.
Did you object to her methods in her house?
I never thought about it.
Then why do you assume that Helen will?
I don't want to take the chance. Gee, Mom, I'd be dead if Helen went back to school and said we were quaint or provincial. I'm asking you to do me a favor. Mom, I don't want to be embarrassed. Please, ask Laura if she'd mind not having dinner with us.
You ask her.
Me?
You're the one who wants it that way. You ask her.
Hey, look what I found.
I'll let your birthday slip by, Dad.
Well, this is really making up for it. Well, just what I wanted. What's up?
I'll ask Daddy.
You'll ask Laura.
Hello, baby. You ready for dinner?
Laura,
Nice girl, that Helen. Very nice girl. Comes from a fine home, you can tell.
yes. Laura,
Yeah?
you ought to see their house.
It's something, huh?
Nobody around here lives like they do.
You don't say. Well, now that's awful nice for you, baby. Going up there to visit with them all the time like you do.
Yes, it has been. That's why... That's why I'm so glad that everything's going to be just right for her here.
Well, that's the way we want it, baby.
Yes, I know.
Must be a lot of work to keep up a big place like that.
Not for them. They have servants.
Oh. It's getting awful late, kitten. I've got a lot to do. We'll talk later, huh? Why don't you all sit down for dinner? It'll be hard for me to sit with you, bouncing up to serve all the time. Would you mind if I didn't join you? I'll eat later, huh?
Oh, Laura, I love you. You know that, don't you?
I never thought Judy would go through with this.
Oh, Laura's always been able to handle Judy.
Mother? In here.
Well, she asked to be excused. She's busy. She'd just be popping up to serve all night. She asked to be excused from dinner. She really did. Helen, I'll be right down. I'm going to change into my blue taffeta.
Now I know what I meant earlier when I said, I wonder what she's like.
She's different. In 2 months, she's grown different.
Not really, dear. Maybe we're the ones who are different.
No, we're not.
I mean, maybe we're the ones who have always been different. What are we supposed to do? I've tried to educate my daughter. Now someone else has taken over. Must I re-educate myself? Must I do as the outside does? Or must they do as I do in my own house?
I like our way.
Mm-hmm. And Helen's parents like theirs. I don't know what to do, Jean.
About what?
About Laura. And has nothing to do with her feelings being hurt either. It's just, this is the way we do it in our home. And when Judy was home, this is the way she did it. But that was before Judy went away. Hi.
Hello. You'd better sit at the table. It's getting late.
You let her off the hook, didn't you? Didn't you?
What's the difference?
I'm not sure.
She's just putting on her best manners. What she did is no different from what we did. Best silverware, best tablecloth, new pepper mill. We don't do that every day either. There's no difference.
You don't believe that?
Sure I do.
And why are you crying?
I'm not.
I don't know. How do you really teach your kids anything?
I've always felt that children should solve their own problems as much as possible. That experience will teach them more than we could. I'm not so sure of that now.
Experience isn't what makes you reach maturity, Jean. It's what you do with the experience.
In our family, we've always lived as a unit. The same ideals, the same standards of conduct, even the same attitude toward others.
And suddenly somebody lets in a little of the outside. And it's different from what we've taught her.
Shall I take it away?
Must we supply the solution?
I don't know. Shall I take it away?
What are we supposed to do?
What do you want to do?
That's not the point. I'm wondering if it's still our decision, or it's Judy's now.
Well, of course, we know that there's a problem here that the parents are going to have to face up to. Where can they turn to get some help to find out if they are right or wrong?
Well, actually, I think this is just exactly a symptom of the picture of the problem that they are facing as a family. Suddenly, they find that their little girl, who has been away from home now for 2 months, is not the same little girl that left home. And they do not know, really, how they can stay in communication with her.
Well, it isn't that she's just not the same girl. It's that she's now trying to appear to be what she isn't.
Yes, I think this is the projected image that so often we see, and I think Laura, who got out the good silver and who got out the best dishes, was trying to impress Helen, just as Judy herself was trying to impress. I think this is the kind of pattern that so often we see, that the facade will give one impression, but it may not be the real article.
Don't you think there's a real difference, though? Getting out your best silver and having nice flowers means we want to appear at our best. This is quite different from trying to appear as something that you're really not.
Yes, and yet I think, Dr. Snyder, that we try not only to appear our best with our best foot forward, but we also have the tendency to appear better than we really are. We want to appear to be healthier and wealthier and more intelligent, for example, than we really are, and so we'll try to present this image to our peer group.
I think I have a sharper sense of the difference between the two here. It's not just that you want to appear better, it's that you want to appear radically different in another world, another existence, another kind of person.
This is really the kind of Jonesitis that we find in our American scene today. It's not only suburbia, it's inner city as well. A recent cartoon I saw exemplified this rather well, of the people who were standing in the backyards over the back fence and saying, "And you mean to say that you've been trying to keep up to us while we've been trying to keep up to you?" I think this elusiveness is a part of the pattern, and we're all the time reaching out to find that which we do not have and try to appropriate that which we do not have.
Well, isn't it really a status ladder that Judy, when she got to college, got in with a quite exciting group of gals who were doing things more exciting perhaps in the world she'd been used to. And she pretty well loses her own inner ballast on this now and begins to think not what would express what I am, but she begins to worry about what kind of language will these girls apply to me if I don't appear to be what they are and what their world is like.
Yes, I think she actually expressed this where she said, I don't want to take the chance that back at school we would be thought of as quaint or provincial. This is now this sense of sophistication, and now I want to have my peer group think differently from the way I've been thinking for the last 18 years.
There's no answer to that business being called queer or provincial, is there?
Well, there may be an answer, but she's questing for the answer. And she's
you think she is?
I feel that she's trying to find, eventually in her 4 years of college, something of this answer, and it will probably not be the same kind that she sees in her freshman year. The freshman year, she's caught up in this kind of sophistication and this fact that now we're sloughing off that which has been parental and family and old-fashioned, and now we want to be a part of the group in this new and exciting way.
Don't you find that this story also brings up a problem of conflict between, say, standards of the home and the outside world?
Yes, I think so, and I think that the father, Mr. Wilson, was trying to protect this concept of standards. That is, that this is the way we do it, this is the way we choose to do it, and so long as I have my four walls surrounding me, I have a degree of security. It's when I get and find that there are influences that are coming into my home that I do not like that make me feel then a sense of insecurity or fear.
Well, now, one of the great passages in the Bible is Joshua's assertion, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And do I gather you're saying this is pulling walls around you and defensiveness?
No, I would say that this is security of the highest order, and this is a person who doesn't have to depend on status seeking in order to gain approval from his peer group. But so often we find the individual just moving along with the tide, with the concept that the community or a sub-community group might be trying to develop.
So that we're on the problem of the father and the mother now. The dad really wants to know, do we determine standards for our home, or does the outside world determine the standards?
This is right, and this is what he's asking. He's asking his wife this question as well as asking himself.
Yeah.
This may have been the first time that they have had to face this kind of a question, because it has probably not come into the home just in this same way.
Would there be anything to be gained by the parents perhaps checking and working with other parents in the community to see if they could change the level of the community standards?
I don't think that this is so much a problem. I see it more or less as an internal problem within the home, that this is a part of the need for emancipation on the part of the 18-year-old daughter, where she's now finding it sophisticated to say that I don't want to have anything to do with these superimposed rules and disciplines that I've had in the past. This is a problem, it seems to me, that is pretty much within this kind of a framework. 4 years from now, 6 years from now, my guess is that Judy probably will see it in a much more intelligent way. For example, the hurt that she's caused Laura will be something that she'll be thinking about for some time to come.
Well, then, okay. How about Laura now? In our society, you always keep talking about the young person, and at least they ought to be having a right to do all these kinds of things. Laura is a person, and she is deeply hurt, and she's hurt near the end of her life when it's going to be very difficult.
That's right, and she's not able to forget this, perhaps as easily as some of the other members of the family.
Yeah.
She was deeply hurt, as we saw there in the kitchen, and the tears just came. I'm sure she did her best to hold them back.
Yeah.
But after all, if she's been a part of this family for 18 years, it would stand to reason that she would be very deeply hurt by this kind of infantile behavior.
Well, then is one to excuse adolescents as they go blundering around, hurting other people?
Isn't this part of the pattern of adolescence, that the adolescent in this storm and stress period is experimenting to try and find what is the kind of image that I'm able to live with for the rest of my life? I'm betwixt and between Pat Boone's concept, really, that we don't know whether we're just small children or whether we're really adults, and our adult group doesn't look at us with any degree of certainty here either. We're were thought of as a lot of question marks, and we're experimenting and trying to find out answers that we're searching for.
Would you believe then that the mother was right in saying to Judy, this is your problem and you should put the question to Laura?
I thought that was a very mature concept on the mother's part, that this is the chance now for you to try your wings. You're now becoming more and more a responsible citizen, and rather than having me run interference for you, as I've been doing for years past, this is your chance now to stand on your own 2 feet and make certain decisions. This is a part of her growing process.
I sort of liked that, but at the same time, I'm inclined to think that parents today are too faint-hearted, that they alternate between not telling their kids any of their own values and saying, after all, the two of us have lived together and we do have values of our own. And then all of a sudden, keeping still, then they burst out with an attempt to discipline. I don't know. I think this was their home, and finally the father and the mother, the husband and the wife, must take responsibility for the values of their home.
And yet, I think, Dr. Snyder, they are taking responsibility in that they're helping to share this responsibility with Judy. And it's not just simply the parents in the authoritarian manner saying, this you must do because you're our daughter. But they're helping her to share in this larger unit that is not just simply mother and father making decisions.
I don't see any sharing here. They said to her, you go out and fix this problem up now.
But in the past, my guess is that they probably have pretty much made the decisions on their own and have not allowed her.
I didn't get this impression from the mother because she kept saying, you know, I thought she would learn by experience. This apparently has been the mother's theory.
And this is really a part of the daughter's experience now in a very painful way.
And this is the theory you're proposing to continue.
I would say that as they're allowing her more and more freedom, to the degree that she can appropriate this freedom. When she's 6 years of age, she has more freedom than she had when she was 3. When she's 16, more than when she was 6. The parents now releasing their hand clasp on the child, so to speak, and giving the child an opportunity to make decisions on her own.
We must remember that Laura kind of had a hand in helping Judy solve this problem, too. When she, as Pop put the phrase, took her off the hook.
Willingly or unwillingly?
Unwillingly. But under the guise of love, I'm wondering if she was condoning what Judy was doing. And is this harmful?
Yes, letting Judy just have the world as she wanted it.
My guess is that this is the kind of world that Judy has known before she went to college. Laura did not want to have this world exploded, and Laura was willing to go along even though the personal hurt was great to Laura. This is the pattern. She still continues to call her baby and these other words of endearment, that she's still thinking of her as a little girl and not really conceiving of her as this young woman who is now moving into adulthood, with a lot of misgivings to be sure, but still attempting to move into this new world that she's facing.
Then I'm left back with the question of the father in this house. How do we teach children how to handle experience?
Well, I think oftentimes we don't give them very much opportunity to evaluate what's happening to them. We're all the time maybe trying to interpret without giving them an opportunity to get some feedback. I wonder if I could illustrate this in our own family. Last summer, we as a family toured in the West and went to a number of the national parks. One Sunday morning, as we were coming into the Royal Gorge and finding no church in which to worship, we decided to make our own family worship experience, and so the father was told by the family that he could do the invocation. That would be a brief experience for him, and he wouldn't be preaching too long. Mrs. Doty was in charge of the singing, including This Is My Father's World. David, our 10-year-old, led us in the 23rd Psalm. Martha, our 7-year-old, led in the prayer. And Mark, who was 12 years of age, led us in the meditation. We just simply spread a blanket out and there with the beautiful Rockies had our backdrop for our worship service. The children have said repeatedly since that time that this was the most meaningful experience of the 17 days that we were together, as they were involved in this experience of learning about God and the out of doors.
We had something of the same experience, and that leads me into a question about the teaching of the Christian faith. when our granddaughter, at the age of 2, in a restaurant, before we started to eat, folded her hands to indicating that we should say grace, which we were not used to doing in a restaurant, which we should do, but we do not. And we felt that this was fine, but we know that it was habit. And I'm wondering how we can go about teaching this Christian faith more adequately than by just habit.
Well, don't children really get the concept of the Christian faith more by what is caught than is taught? That is, that the parents themselves are the kind of quiet examples that literally will relate to people, and that children can hear us saying one thing but maybe communicating something far different.
Is this connected to what I gathered you were saying a bit back? Do you think that Judy will come back after a while and see the silliness of this that she did? Because she's grown up in this kind of a household?
I think yes. I think this is a part of the maturity, that is the kind of thing that Gordon Allport, the Harvard psychologist, speaks of the concept of self. Am I a self with which I can live and love appropriately? Or do I see myself as a series of question marks that I'm projecting on everybody else in my personal group?
Well, now this is sort of bothers me. The father and the mother have just commenced to wonder if they still should, live by their standards and their values. But Judy has already kind of decided, at least temporarily, not to. This disturbs me.
This is a part of her own experience, it seems to me, of growing up. And as she is able to understand this process, she is moving more and more into the establishment of her own home. And not necessarily that it has to be aping that which Dad and Mother have given her. My guess is that it probably will more nearly approximate what Dad and Mother have had than we might think at this
Well,
time.
let me put it this way. I would very much like for young people to rebel, but I wish they would rebel against the real stupidities of adults.
And yet, do they know what the real stupidities are at this
No,
point?
I'm not sure that we do either.
No, I think
But
that's
I would like to say then, we're not always right as parents, but do you have any clue on this business of how we can help young people really move away from things that we are doing that they ought to move away from? Somehow they always seem to be going in the wrong direction.
Well, according to our standards.
According to our ideas,
But
yes.
from their standards, they're doing essentially, as they are attempting to get acceptance with their group, exactly what we're attempting to do with our age group, whether we're 40 or 50 or 60. We want acceptance too. And the kind of thing that they're doing isn't so different, is it, from what we ourselves are doing?
No, one of the memories of my life when I was in college, a professor wrote on the blackboard one day.
This discussion isn't finished until you have thought through to your satisfaction the questions that Mr. Emery, Dr. Snyder, and Dr. Doty have been considering. Perhaps you will want to continue to think and talk about the issues which Talkback is raising. Talkback is a public service program presented by this station and the churches of your community. It was produced in cooperation with the National Council of Churches as a contribution of the Methodist Television Ministry.